Okay, so why did the Supreme Court of Colorado disqualify Trump from the 2024 presidential ballot? In this video, I'm going to briefly discuss what Colorado decided and why, respond to Trump's camp about politics in the judicial system, and my final thoughts about this whole process. But before I do, I just want to put a disclaimer out that this is an ever-evolving news story. I know more and more states are looking at what the Supreme Court of Colorado decided, making their own decisions on whether or not Trump should be on their ballots for 2024. But there's a lot of complexity to this as well. I'll leave links below to everything, including the Supreme Court of Colorado, their decision, and it's a really interesting read to see how they came to this conclusion. Okay, so I want to start by being very specific in the lexicon here. So the Colorado Supreme Court considered whether Donald Trump may appear on the Colorado Republican presidential primary ballot for 2024. The majority of the Supreme Court, in a ruling 4-3, held that the former president is disqualified from holding office of the president under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. And the reason why is because Trump engaged in insurrection on January 6, 2021, after swearing an oath as president to support the U.S. Constitution. Now, this characterization is very important, that they said he engaged in insurrection. Going back to Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, the court cited Attorney General Stanbury on his opinions of the meaning of engage in. Attorney General Stanbury at the time opined is that a person may engage in insurrection or rebellion without having actually levied war or taken arms. Thus, in Attorney General Stanbury's view, when individuals acting in their official capacities act in the furtherance of the common unlawful purpose or do any overt act for the purpose of promoting the rebellion, they have engaged in insurrection or rebellion for Section 3 disqualification purposes. Interestingly enough, this is what Attorney General Stanbury continues to say. Disloyal sentiments, opinions, or sympathies would not disqualify. But when a person has, by speech or by writing, incited others to engage in rebellion, he must come under the disqualification. So this is interesting. The courts aren't saying that Trump himself didn't actually do the rebellion, but he encouraged others. Now, the Supreme Court also cited a pattern of behavior by Donald Trump leading up to the 2020 election and then shortly thereafter that would constitute this engaged in insurrection and rebellion. Trump says at a rally that losing would only be possible if the election is rigged. Trump continues to escalate claims of voter fraud. Advisors inform him of the lack of evidence, but he continues efforts to prevent the certification of election results. Trump exerts pressure on Republican office holders in various states to overturn the results. State officials targeted by Trump's efforts face harassment and violent threats from his supporters. Trump was aware of these threats, but continued to amplify false claims. Trump undertakes the Stop the Steal movement with ongoing false assertions of election fraud. Organizers hold rallies recruiting attendees, including members of extremist groups, to travel to Washington on January 6th. Trump incites violence through his tweets and messages, and these were interpreted by extremist groups as a call to arms. His subsequent tweets and retweets further indicate support for actions leading to January 6th. There's a lot there, and I'll get to my final thoughts about what I think about this in a second. I've also left a link in the description below for you to look at all of Donald Trump's tweets on January 6, 2021. I wanted to move on now to an assertion that both Trump and others have made. There's a series of political actors in the U.S. judicial system that are out to get Trump. Now, before I assess that, we have to remember, too, that most Americans actually don't have much confidence in courts. Public confidence is very low. In fact, most Americans say that the courts are too tangled up in politics. A majority also believe that wealthy parties have an advantage in courts, while poor and minorities are at a significant disadvantage. But before I get into whether or not Trump's claims are actually accurate, that there are political actors within the judicial system out to get him, I just want to remind you to please like, share, subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'm on a path here with open minds to be as open to all of the world's issues, but exploring them through genuine curiosity. So if you're liking this content, definitely subscribe and let me know what you think in the comment section below. One person I wanted to draw your attention to is Fani Willis, the district attorney of Fulton County in Atlanta, Georgia. Now, Fani Willis is undertaking an investigation into Trump. There's a couple things that indicate Fani Willis is in fact politically motivated. Back in 2023, Scott Bolden, former chair of the DC Democratic Party, held a fundraiser for Fani Willis. Now, I understand district attorneys, they have to run and get reelected or elected, and they need fundraisers for that. So that in itself isn't really enough. But back in July 2022, Fani Willis hosts a fundraiser for a Democratic candidate. Fulton County Superior Court Judge Robert McBurney at the time criticizes District Attorney Fani Willis for hosting this fundraiser because the candidate was running against one of the Trump investigation's potential targets. It's a "what were you thinking" moment, McBurney said. The optics are horrific. Okay, so what are my final thoughts about all of this? Well, going back to what the Colorado Supreme Court ruled in terms of what Donald Trump did to engage in insurrection or rebellion, to me, after reading all of Donald Trump's tweets leading up to January 6th and then the day of on January 6th, and I'm trying to look at this truly from an open lens, open mind, but I don't know if there's enough there to say that he purposely promoted insurrection or rebellion. Donald Trump said, yes, this election was rigged. It's the only way he would lose is if it were rigged. How that's interpreted is very hard for anyone to say. You know, for the courts to say that far-right extremists use this as a call to arms, Donald Trump never openly said this was a call to arms. He never once in any of his tweets said, we need to storm the Capitol on January 6th. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't remember seeing that anywhere in his tweets and any of his interviews. So in that case, 100% I would say he engaged in insurrection or rebellion. But instead, Donald Trump did what Attorney General Stanberry opined, which is he had disloyal sentiments, his own opinions, his own sympathies, and those would not disqualify them on its own. But the courts say it's the way in which far-right extremists interpreted Donald Trump's sentiments, opinions, or sympathies. And to me, that's a bit perplexing. It's kind of like you put out an opinion there and some far-right group or far-left group interprets it and they commit actions. Well, should you as the individual be held for that? I mean, you can have an opinion, but I think what Attorney General Stanberry was saying was if you actually incite insurrection or rebellion by saying things like, you know what, they're going to steal this election, and the only way we're going to get it back is if we storm the Capitol on January 6th and take what's rightfully ours. I think that's what Attorney General Stanberry was getting at. It's one thing to have your opinion, but now you're actually directing people to overthrow the government. And Donald Trump's sentiment stops short of that overthrowing government. It stops right short of it because, in his opinion, the election was stolen. By the way, he's not the first president or presidential candidate to say an election was rigged. Back in 2016, Hillary Clinton went around saying that the election was rigged by Russia and North Korea, I believe. And I'll leave links below to that as well. So Donald Trump isn't the first president or presidential candidate to say that the election was stolen or rigged or etc., but he was just very vocal in his dismissing of the election result. It'll be interesting to see how other states use the decision by the Colorado Supreme Court in their own decisions when it comes to Donald Trump running in 2024. But what do you think? Do you think that this merits more discussion, or do you think that there are political actors in Colorado and other states that are looking to disqualify Trump from running again? Let me know what you think in the comment section below.